Welcome to Seattle Book Summary Channel. In this channel, I will summarize books, especially Japanese books, in English. I recommend this channel for those who want to develop yourself and also those who want to study English. You can do that at the same time actually. It's pretty efficient, isn't it? I also recommend for those who are not in Japan and want to know about Japanese books. So today, I'm gonna explain the book, The Courage to be Disliked. But before we start, take a few seconds and subscribe my channel, my friends. That will motivate me. Alright, let's get started. The book, The Courage to be Disliked. It's the best-seller book in Japan, even though books don't sell well these days. This book is about Adler psychology. Adler is the psychologist who is called the father of self-development. I've read this book right after it's published, and I felt like I was hit in the head with a brick. People often say like, "Oh, my philosophy of life has changed" or something. But it really happens if you can understand this book deeply. I know you guys don't have enough time, so let me tell you the conclusion at first. All of our worries are caused by interpersonal relationships. It's the premise. And to eliminate your worries, we have to give up on our esteem needs, like too much desire for recognition, or like an attention seeking. That is the conclusion. The content of this book is to get to the heart of interpersonal relationships. So I highly recommend this book for those who have inferiority complex, no matter how hard you try to overcome. Both the content and the compositions are really interesting. So I really would like you to take your time to read this book. But today, I'm gonna explain well-selected 3 points of this book. Let's get started. The first point is the denial of etiology. Teleology is everything. This is the first shocking point. Etiology and teleology sounds a bit difficult, but simply put, people's behavior doesn't come from cause, but comes from only purpose. Many people think people behave because they have some causes, but to tell the truth, cause doesn't make our behaviors, but only purposes do. If it doesn't make any sense to you so far, it's all okay. I don't think people can understand this quickly, so let me tell you an example. For example, in your company, a young business person is scolded by his boss. What do you think if you see it? I guess many people think like, "Oh, that guy made some mistakes, so his boss is mad or something." That is, the madness of his boss is caused by his mistakes. His boss's behavior comes from the causes. Everybody thinks like that, right? But Adler denies it completely. According to Adler, etiology is like this. The boss is mad, not because this guy made a mistake, but because he has a purpose. So what purposes does he have? It's something like the boss doesn't want him to be stuck up to him, or they have hierarchical relationships, and the boss really wants to make him know it or something like that. Those purposes made the boss get mad. This is what Adler says. This etiology is so hard to understand, so if you heard this for the first time, you might feel very strange and weird. But I think this etiology is legit, very decent. If you make a mistake, some people might get really mad. But some people are just calmly telling you you have to do it this way or something. That is to say, the degree of mistakes doesn't matter. If those who have purposes to intimidate you, they will yell at you. But those who have purposes that you don't make mistake anymore from now on, they are not gonna yell at you. That is, cause don't make people's behavior, but purposes do. I'm really ashamed to say this, but sometimes it applies to me too. For example, when I kinda yell at somebody, I feel like he doesn't get what I say if I say calmly or logically. At that time, I turned up the volume and tried to intimidate and force him to understand me somehow. What about you? Does it apply to you too? If you are yelling at somebody, do you have an intention that you want to intimidate? Then, this is very important. What do we learn from Adler's teleology? It is, do not be bound by the past or causes. This is very encouraging story, but sometimes it might be very harsh. It's depending on how you think, but for example, there are those kind of people who are like, oh, my parents got divorced, so my marriage life is never gonna be good. This is what Adler clearly denies, being bound by the causes. Don't be bound by the dark past or causes. The past that your parents got divorced doesn't matter at all. People who say like that seems like they try to make some excuses for your marriage life doesn't go well, even though their own personalities are the reason. If you want to have a wonderful marriage life, you just have to cherish your partner right here, right now. That's it. And let me add one more example. Some people say they were always alone since they were the only child at their families, so they cannot communicate with people well or something. This is a good example of being bound by the past, like you were the only child or they have gloomy personality. According to Adler, don't blame the cause or your past. It doesn't matter. Indeed, communicating with people is the risk, like they react not as you expect or you might be hurt. But you are just avoiding the communication using the past as an excuse. If you don't want to get bound by causes or past, and if you want to communicate with people well, all you have to do is just smile and talk to them. It's pretty simple. Your past doesn't matter at all. What do you think? Does it make sense to you? Many successful people say like, live in the present, or like, seize the day. I didn't get what it's like to live in the present. But after I read this book, it totally makes sense to me. I think living in the present means do not live in the etiology world. Just live in the teleology world. Don't be bound by the past, and don't make excuses just to make up your mind to live happily ever after from now on. This is the first point. The second shocking part of this book is separation of tasks. It sounds a bit difficult, but it's very simple. In short, just do things that you can control, and don't even think about the things that you cannot control. In other words, separate your tasks and other people's tasks. This example is very easy to understand. A horse, like an animal horse I'm talking about. You can take a horse to a waterfront, but you cannot make it drink water. This story tells everything about separation of tasks. If you want to make a horse to drink water, you can take it to a waterfront. It's your task. But whether it drinks water or not, is the horse's task, not yours. You cannot control a horse's task, so you don't have to care about it. There are a lot of tasks on your daily life, right? But some people try so hard to solve both their own tasks and other people's tasks. On the other hand, some people who understand Adler's theory don't do that. They focus on their own tasks and don't care about other people's tasks. As is often the case with office workers, some people worry like, oh, I'm trying so hard but my boss doesn't appreciate me. What should I do? Yeah, I get it. I was always like that. Maybe I'm still like that sometimes. But this is a very good example of not being able to separate your own tasks with others. In this case, doing your best to make great sales is your task. On the other hand, whether your boss appreciates you or not, it's your boss's task, not yours. You cannot control it. All you have to do is making effort to get great sales. You don't have to think about how your boss thinks about you. It's his problem. If you're doing well and make great sales, but your boss doesn't evaluate you appropriately. Sadly, that happens sometimes. But all you have to do is find other your own tasks and take actions. Like try to change your job, or maneuver behind the scenes to make your boss transfer or something. You can find things that you can control. Don't expect your boss to be a better person. It's not your task. Unfortunately, people don't change as you expect, especially older people. Don't expect someone to change as you expect. It's like poking your nose into another's affairs. And this is the main theme of this book. Separating tasks, putting otherwise, giving up on your self-esteem needs, too much desire for recognition. Adler warns that people tend to be trapped by esteem needs. For example, this happens especially in Japan. But people tend to decide university by name recognition. Even though we should decide by what we want to study or what environment does it have, we often decide it by how famous it is. Even after university, we try to choose big companies to work for, like how famous it is, and try not to be scolded by boss and try to be praised by someone. This is something that we shouldn't do, according to Adler. Actually, it cannot be helped in Japanese society because we grow up with this environment. So, our minds are filled with esteem needs and try to solve out other people's tasks. It's totally wrong, and just focus on your task, what you can control, and try to focus on what makes you happy. This is the second point. And the last point is, don't make hierarchical relationships. It doesn't matter who you are talking to. Even though we are not in the same position, we are all equal as human beings. It might be hard to get it, so let me give you an example. Not to make hierarchical relationships. What we should do is do not praise people, according to this book. This is surprising, isn't it? It's psychology, so it should say praise someone and make them feel happy or something. Adler says no to this. Why not? Because praising someone creates hierarchical relationships. There is a hierarchical relationships between someone who praises and someone who is praised, right? This leads to a world of esteem needs. The boss praises his subordinates. Sounds nice, but it's not, according to Adler. If we cannot praise someone, what should we do then? Adler says you can just appreciate people, saying thank you. Why? Because appreciating someone doesn't create hierarchical relationships. We appreciate both older people and younger people, right? This doesn't lead you to esteem needs world. It's very healthy and sound. Just thank people and be thanked by people. This is important to live a happy life. But I don't want you to misunderstand. Do not expect someone to always appreciate you. You do good things to someone, it's good, but whether they will appreciate you or not, it's their problems, not yours. Just don't expect them to appreciate you. You do what you can do to someone, and you are satisfied. That's it. You don't have to care about how they react. Self-satisfaction is the key to a happy life. In summary, I explained the book, The Courage to be Disliked. There are 3 important points. The first is the denial of etiology. Teleology is everything. Don't be bound by causes or your past. You can just change your life right here, right now. The second part is separating tasks. You don't have to care about other people's tasks that you cannot control. Just focus on your task that you can control. The third point is don't create hierarchical relationships. Praising someone sounds nice, but it leads to a world of esteem needs. So just appreciating them, saying thank you, is great. At last, let me add something. I think not praising someone anymore rest of your life is really hard. So you don't have to push yourself too much, just keep a balance. Let's make the most of Adler's psychology. Not be bound by our past, and just focus on what we can control. Let's live wonderful, bright, happy life. That's all. Thank you very much. If you think this is helpful for you, make sure hit the like button and subscribe my channel. I will upload summarization of Japanese books in English. This channel is helpful for Japanese people who want to develop yourself and study English at the same time, or those who are not in Japan who want to know about Japanese books. See you next time. Peace out.